Hey there, race fans. I'm your man, Todd Brown of That Racing Show. Thanks for dropping by for another segment of That Racing Show's Pit Stop. Bubba Wallace continuing to take the headlines all week with the aftermath from the incident that happened at Vegas. If you're here watching this, you obviously know what happened between him and Kyle Larson, the on-track incident, and everything that took place after outside of the race car. Now, this week, NASCAR handled down their penalty, which was a one-race suspension of Bubba Wallace that has the NASCAR world talking. A lot of fans are very much not happy with it. So many people think that it should have been so much more. And a lot of people are saying, hey, if this would have been any other driver on that racetrack, they would have threw the book at him. Now, it's got me thinking about a lot of different things with drivers and incidents that happened in the past, especially retaliation moves that happened on the racetrack with a race car. And, I personally had my own views of what I thought needed to be done going forward with Bubba and any other driver who does a situation like this. I'm not going to go into that right here at this moment, but I got to thinking about somebody who had some actions that happened in 1 year alone, that the scenario that played out with him. And as I got thinking about it, man, there was a lot more things that came up and came into the whole scenario of this. And this is a guy who was very well liked in NASCAR. He was a top driver across all three NASCAR divisions over the years, and he was a very likable, notable driver who was a hell of a wheelman. Personally, I admired him. I thought he was just a great guy to be around, and like I say, just one hell of a wheelman, and that's the way the racing world looked at him. And so I want to look at this little thing right here, so I'm not going to do any more talking. I'm going to let you look at these next few minutes of this. Please watch it through the end, watch the video, and then take a listen to what I have to say at the end of it, and then make your judgment on how things actually played out.
Can Keselowski try to win it?
I don't know. I don't think he can step out until he waits till the last second and picks up.
He goes to the outside. Is Edwards going?
Oh, no!
He turns him.
No!
Oh, and that destroyed the front end of Newman's car.
No!
Edwards will not make it to the flag.
Oh,
Brad
no.
Keselowski won this race.
A little crossover move here by Carl. Clean here, clean here. Just slight contact. Look at that thing go.
That looks so much like Edwards' turnover at Talladega off the bumper of Keselowski. That car took a hard hit in the left A pillar, the windshield post right in front of the driver.
Well, Brad knows the deal between him and I, and the scary part was that his car went airborne, which was not at all what I expected. And
To come back and just intentionally wreck someone, that's not cool. I mean, it could have killed somebody in the grandstands. And I know that it's a little ironic that it's got me saying that, but at least I didn't do it intentionally when it happened. So it'll be interesting to see how NASCAR reacts to it. They have the ball. If they're going to allow people to intentionally wreck each other at tracks this fast, we will hurt someone either in the cars or in the grandstand. So it's not cool to intentionally wreck somebody at 195 mile an hour. It'll be interesting to see how NASCAR reacts to it. They have the ball.
As a result of these discussions, we have reached the conclusion that Carl will also be put on probation for the next 3 NASCAR Sprint Cup races.
What you just heard was Bob Osborne telling his driver, Carl Edwards, that NASCAR is parking Edwards for the balance of the race, and he's being called to the NASCAR hauler.
See, this is the fear that NASCAR has to have when they say they're going to let the drivers be drivers and take care of things themselves. And this is a fear that they have to have.
He's not doing himself no favor right now going backwards down pit road either. They're not going to like that at all.
Okay, you see these guys are racing hard. Carl Edwards gets a little bit loose right there. These guys are still hard on the gas. He gets tagged a little bit by the 8 car and then turned right across Robbie's nose.
Caution comes out, and here comes Carl Edwards back out on the track.
Carl runs into the 8 car. Carl Edwards was in the lead and felt like he got turned, he got taken out. So you got an angry race car driver that's going to go out and try to settle the score right now with Junior.
This is on board with Earnhardt.
Carl came on the radio, said obviously The 8 hit me. He was requesting NASCAR black flag Dale Earnhardt Jr. That is the debate down in the Dale Earnhardt Jr. pit. They got word Carl had made that request, and now they're debating as to whether or not that should be the call. Carl, obviously very upset when he came to pit road, parked right in front of the 8 pit, then went back out on the track and obviously made contact with the 8 car himself.
And he just wrecked me off too. So I just want to make sure, you know, he knew that I was mad that he wrecked me. But oh well, that's racing. I'm sure, you know, NASCAR had a meeting with us the other day, Tony and I, and said they weren't going to stand for that stuff. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I hope Dale's. I don't know what to say. It's racing. I was just upset.
Second question, was Carl's response to you to let you know that he was disappointed in you okay?
No, not really. I had my hand out the window after the race, and he could have took my hand off. So luckily, nothing. You know, he didn't. But pretty stupid. But you know, I seen him do it before, so I should have known.
Carl Edwards, can he make it stick on the outside? Brad thought he had the best car all night. Took the inside line on the restart. This is going to be down to the wire. Oh, the touch! He spun out. Carl gets into Keselowski. Carl Edwards will win.
That's it. Checker flag. Man, you are the man. He deserved it. Good job.
I just hope Keselowski's okay here. That was a hard hit, guys. That was ugly.
Here it is again. Carl's got that outside run. Thinks he's got the room to do it. Boy, that's such a hard angle to see if Brad came up to block in any way.
Called in a lift. We can confirm that.
Watch this hit by Keselowski. He's stuck on the inside line there. And just hard contact.
He just went in. He just got in over his head and tried too hard, and it was at my expense. So that was at his expense, and we got our win. But
Brad got into Carl, getting out on turn 1, racing him. They bumped, they rubbed. Typical rubbing racing deal. Carl flipped out like he did at Atlanta and tried to kill the kid. I'm sick and tired of this. I'll get my own uniform back out and take care of this. He ain't going to kill my boy.
He's coming down pit road, and
Was it Carl Edwards that did that?
Carl Edwards was behind him. Another look.
I think Carl's going to be sitting for a lap now.
You think?
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he knew it affected us or not, but I pulled up and waved my hand at him like, what are you doing? And he gave me the finger, and I just can't stand for getting wrecked and getting the finger from the same guy in the same 20 minutes, so I spun him out. But I shouldn't have done it on pit road. I made sure to do it to the right, though. I didn't want to injure anybody.
About to interview Matt Kenseth right there, and you can see Carl Edwards walks up. We thought he was joking, actually, at first. He walks over and starts talking to Matt Kenseth, but it became a little bit heated, and there was some shoving back and forth and so forth. But you can see right there.
Pretty crazy, huh? Now, first of all, just let me say again here, this is not a personal attack on Carl. I actually love Carl. He was a great character to the sport. He was a great asset to the sport. He was a hell of a wheel man. And, somebody who was fun to watch, and also somebody who was fun to watch outside of the car with his interviews and everything else. I mean, who does not miss the backflip and the craziness that he brought to the sport? Now, in the same manner, this is not a defense of Bubba Wallace, because I'm not here to defend anybody. I'm not here to ridicule anybody. This is simply a scenario to provide a couple different situations to show how drivers use their race car for retaliation and the penalty phase that happened following that. Now, the situation at hand here, let's look at this from a realistic point. Carl Edwards was a very beloved, respected, and just a kind of a character to NASCAR and the series all from the beginning when he come into the sport. And I look at Bubba Wallace. I see a guy who, when he first come in, he started growing. He started getting a lot more fans. Things started happening. I can actually go back and look at different videos of Bubba from even just 3 years ago. When he first, let's just say when he went to Petty Motorsports and everything else. You look at anything of it. People are on there just say, I love Bubba. I support Bubba. There was so much to it. And let's just face the harsh reality of everything else. When everything happened in the outside world, that was racial tension and things that was going on that got carried over into the NASCAR world. That's when people's perception and views of Bubba started changing. That's where, a lot of people just said, hey, this is not, racing has always been something that politics over here, racing over here. That's just the way it went. And this brought stuff to the forefront and caused a lot of reactions across the board. It made NASCAR go to national news for purposes that should not have happened. And I think that, and moving forward, caused a lot of people not to have the same feelings about Bubba. So, this is my point. This is my focus with this. I don't think that everybody is judging things because of the situation that happened. I think it's more of a personal view of the person that people are evaluating and saying this should have been a very stronger, sterner punishment. Now, I myself have said in previous episodes that I think this should have been setting the bar with this right here. But it should have been setting the bar many, many years ago when this happened before. But it did not happen. So unfortunately, it kept on. And at this point, yes, I think NASCAR needs to set a bar where, moving forward, this is what's going to happen. Now, I said that I think not only should it have been suspension, penalties, monetary fines, things of that nature, I think that there should be some kind of evaluations to make sure everything is clear and everything is okay in any person's head who goes on a rampage reactions like this. Especially in this case, somebody who has already come out and come forward before saying he had depression and different things and has had some really hard hits and things that have happened. Take a look at this right here. You can see reactions that's happened, that this is something that is just not normal. Now, again, drivers pass out after they get out of the car, different things like that. I've seen these things by many different drivers, but these situations right here are something I think that's a little more than just exhaustion and things of that nature. Could be very wrong, but to me, when somebody's being aggressive like this and something like this has been signs in the past, I think it needs to be looked at. Sorry, not attacking anybody again, just saying for the safety of everybody out there, that's what needs to happen, in my opinion. Now, let's look at the scenarios here with what I just showed you. I'm going to try to make this brief, so stick with me here. But we're going to look at the situations with Carl and Brad 2009, Talladega. Brad gets in the back of Carl, sends him into the fence. Brad goes on to win the race in the 09 car. It was kind of a story right there in itself. Carl gets out, makes a memorable finish for himself, gets out again, has his typical happy self interview, and that's that at that point. But was it there? No. It was actually in the back of Carl's mind that you did this to me. Now, fast forward another year, 2010, they're racing in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series, running for championships in both series. They've had some dust-ups already in 2010. Now to get to Atlanta, going into turn one, Brad and Carl get together a little bit. Carl's mad about it. Damage to both of the cars. But as they go on through, Carl gets into the back of Brad, sends him up in the catch fence. Something that was a very terrifying wreck. The outcome, the car, it was very traumatic. Just the fact that he was able to get out and walk away. Of course, he was very jelly-legged when he got out and walked away, but he was still able to walk away, and could have been tragic. It could have been a very, very tragic outcome. Could have ended Brad's career. Could have took his life. And it was 100% intentional. Now, how do we know it was intentional? Because Carl said it in his post-race interview. Didn't expect to see the car do that when I hit him like that. He knew what was going on. He knew what he was doing. It was an intentional retaliation move. And you actually, there's some other footage of Carl coming out of 4 prior to that, where the ass end of that car was just loose because he's in the gas so hard just with a sole purpose to tag Brad and send him spinning. And again, I don't think Carl ever intended for anything bad to happen, but he was angry and he was going to get him paid back. Now, you fast forward. Let's not fast forward yet. Let's talk about that. 3-race probation. That's it. 3-race probation. No suspension, no fines, no nothing else. No owner points deducted, anything. Just you're on probation for 3 races. Oh, and also, you got to park it. What's Carl do? Yeah, screw you, NASCAR. I'm going to take a left here on the Legends car track. I'm going to go down pit road backwards. I'm just going to, you know what? I don't care. Basically, threw the finger to NASCAR and 3-race probation. Could still race Xfinity, could still race Truck Series, could still race Cup, could still get paid, could still earn points, could still run for the championship, everything. No big deal, right? Now, let's move forward to the race with the Xfinity Series. Still got that in his memory bank. Here's Brad and Carl racing for the win. Going into turn 1. Again, Brad and Carl get together a little bit. Carl's pissed off at Brad for it. Come around for the checkered flag. Boom. Catches him. Dumps him again. This time, yeah, it's not the speeds. It's not the racetrack as what happened at Atlanta. But still, a hard impact. And it put him, they're at the front of the field. There's a shit ton of cars coming behind them that just pile right into the side of Brad. Another impact that was really, we're lucky nothing more traumatic happened from it. And not only to Brad, but there was several other drivers who flew in there and took hard impacts, head-on impacts into the side of Brad and everything else. That was a dangerous, a deliberate, it was very intentional retaliation. How do we know it? In the interview, Carl says, my guys come here to win. I'm getting this win. He knew it. It was very, it's very apparent. Bottom line. Now, this is the second incident in this same year where this happened, where one driver could have been killed in either situation that happened at the hands of one driver. Now, this time, there was a penalty that did come down. That was a 60 points deduction and a $25,000 fine. And he got put on probation for the rest of the year. Now, here is the kicker about everything. This is where NASCAR is so weird to me. Not only does Carl get put on probation for the rest of the year, they put Brad on probation for the rest of the year. The guy who was the victim of these incidents, who's basically been attacked in his race car on the racetrack, they put him on suspension. Let that sink in for a second, okay? Please. Now, we look at the other things on here. You compare this again. Let's look at what happened to Ty Gibbs this year, the incident on pit road. Everybody's in an uproar. Everybody's pissed off. You can't do that. You can't, man, this needs to be stern, everything else. As you can see in the video there, Carl did the same thing because he was pissed off at a driver on pit road, at Tony Stewart. What happens? Even the guys in the booth, that they kind of look at it in a comical, joking way, like, well, yeah, was that Carl? Yeah, I bet he'll be sitting there for a lap. It was just the interview afterwards. What happens again? Carl dissects the situation. He says, I intentionally spun him on pit road. What does he say? Well, I turned him so he would go to the right instead of the left because I didn't want to hurt nobody. See, I get speechless at some of these things because when I actually take it in and think about it, it's like, why was there not the situation put right there that makes sure this never happens again? And if it does, boy, you're going to pay out the ass for anything that happens after that. This is where I get upset. Now, same thing with the Dale Jr. situation. This is how the persona of a person plays out more than the infraction. Because you look at this situation, Carl just deliberately runs down pit road, rams into the side of Dale Jr. And here's what happens. There's like 60,000 people in the stands that day. They booed Dale Jr. in victory lane and cheered Carl Edwards because there's people that thought, yeah, you kind of dumped Carl coming out of 2 there, so that was warranted. And here's Dale Jr., which I have much respect for Dale Jr. Now, let's just say this. But Dale Jr., he's been the most popular driver since like 1845 up to, at this point, he's still the most popular driver in NASCAR. And he is booed because he just about got his hand took off in this situation, which I'm sure a lot of fans, in the stands didn't know exactly what happened with that. They were just cheering more about the excitement on the racetrack and everything else. And, but again, the most popular driver in NASCAR is booed. Carl's cheered. That's the persona, the perception that race fans have. And that's what I'm kind of trying to say with this thing right here is that it depends on who you are. It's not necessarily the action that happens on the racetrack that the public perception is. It's who you are as a person, not the infraction that happened that's making people's choices and people's decisions. Because as I said, people have said on my page, I personally kind of been attacked on this page right here by people who have said different things that, I don't know. But the thing is, the penalty phase, where was the penalty back then? Because had NASCAR penalized Carl Edwards for that action that happened in Atlanta to start with, Carl would have known going into the Xfinity race like that, I can't do this, because if I do, I'm out. I'm not going to stand a chance to win a championship. And this is where everything falls apart, because you look at every sport has ways to dictate the outcome. Every driver knows, every fan knows, everybody knows if you do something in another sport, the infraction that's going to happen, and you know the penalty. You know what's going to happen there. In NASCAR, it's not that way. It's, we're going to give this guy over here this, we're going to give this guy over here this, we're not going to act upon it right now, we're going to go do this, and we're going to do that. And it confuses fans, it confuses, people in the sport. It confuses them, because nobody knows what's going to happen from one point to the next. And this is where I implore you, NASCAR, to set a across-the-board penalty phase at the beginning of the year. Now, of course, yeah, there's different scenarios to each thing, but this is where you have it. You set across-the-board penalty phase at the beginning of the year, and if you do this infraction and this infraction all in the same thing, well, you're getting both them penalties, or they're going to have to find a way to equal out. That should be in the rule book already as well, because you know the scenarios that can play out. Now, yeah, each one is kind of different, but it's no different than if something happens on a football field or on a basketball court. Yeah, there are different types of scenarios that led to it, but the foul, the penalty, the infraction, it's kind of the same. So NASCAR should have this all the way across the board, so we don't have to have these confrontations, these arguments, and the calamity that's going on right now with the penalty phase of people thinking Bubba didn't get what he should. I've seen so many people say, had Bubba not been black, this would have been a totally different story. This is why I wanted to do this, because, again, I am not defending Bubba Wallace in any way. I am not attacking Carl Edwards in any way. I'm just showing you a situation that if you looked at this like it was a court situation, you can go, well, this guy got off pretty much scot-free, and this guy got a one-race suspension. Both situations were wrong. Both situations should have been handled differently, but I'm just simply providing you a way to look at it and go, man, you know what? I didn't even think about it that way, because, yeah. And Carl's not the only one. There's different drivers who have done the same thing, and then there's drivers who did get penalized, like Kyle Busch for what happened in the Truck Series, that he got penalized across the whole board. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I got to think that NASCAR said, well, you know, Carl and Kyle kind of do the same thing. They run truck, they run Xfinity, so I got to set them down for all this. It was something that happened from back then, but they never implemented, here, boom, this is the way it is. And that's why I say, if you're going to be pissed at anybody, be pissed at NASCAR for not just setting out these rules and making, first of all, it's going to make racing more safer. It's going to let everybody know what's going on, and it's not going to make everybody question and be confused about what's happening. So anyways, I'm going to quit talking about this. Just wanted to show you these scenarios so you could get a different view of it maybe. And as always, I want to get your comments on this, and please bring everything in. If you like what I'm talking about, give it a subscribe to the channel, because I appreciate it very much. All the new subscribers, much thanks. Even the people that are throwing me some hateful messages about things and different whatever, I appreciate it, because, you know, that's what this is about. The show is about to be able to sit down and talk like race fans, having a beer, just discussing, maybe even getting into a little, not an argument, but a little, you know, let's get deep into this subject. And that's what I wanted, because, man, that's what this is about. It's having good times, having fun with friends, talking racing. And that's what I love. So anyways, have a great week. And not sure if I'm going to do anything else this week, but I might surprise you. But anyways, as always, we'll see you at the checkered flag.